what's up, bro?
Nothing much. What you got going on?
Nothing much. Just driving home.
Okay. Hey, well, man, I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I wanted to get you connected with a mentor, one of the guys that I'm working with. His name is Brian as well, Brian Damaso. Brian, you're there, right?
I'm here, bud. Yep.
Awesome. So, Anthony, this is Brian, and Brian is, like I said, somebody that I recently started working with, man, and he's actually a mentor of mine that I met through someone else. And Brian has, like I said, he had a construction background, a construction company. And through what he's teaching me now, what I'm learning, and I know you're kind of familiar with personal development. Like you said the other day, you're always like learning and stuff. And even like our last conversation, at Bobby's thing, we kind of talked on it. But when I met Brian, you're one of the people that definitely came to mind because of his experience with the construction company. And he was doing about, I believe, a little under $1 million, and within 1 year took it up to almost $10 million. I think about $8.5 million in his company, and now is the CEO, founder and CEO of like 5 different companies, and it's been helping me, man. And I wanted to share what he's doing with you, because I think you will find it what he's doing, and through Bob Proctor's teaching. Are you familiar with Bob Proctor, Ed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what you'll find is that Brian is actually Bob Proctor's #1 coach in the world in terms of what Bob Proctor teaches. And he's teaching this to people in a whole bunch of different countries, and works hand in hand with Bob Proctor. And now it's helping me. And so, again, I just wanted to share, have you speak with him. And I thought that you would find tremendous value in what he's doing, and might see some opportunities for yourself and your business through what he's teaching me as well. So, Brian, this is my cousin, Anthony Barrios, and this is Brian Damaso.
Hey, Anthony. How you doing, bud? It's good to meet you.
I'm good, thank you.
Awesome. So, yeah, Brian told me a little bit about you, obviously, but I'd love to dig a little deeper into kind of what you're all about. And, we share a background. My background is actually mechanical engineering for about 20 years, and then I transitioned into architecture, construction, and design build. It sounds like maybe similar to you, but why don't you start up by just telling me a little bit about your background, your business, you're married, you have kids, things of that nature.
Well, I'm a small contractor. I remodel kitchens and bathrooms. I've been doing it for about 18 years. I'm divorced. I got 2 kids. That's about it. I mean, I'm pretty good at what I do. It's just all about finding more customers and clients,
Sure. Yeah, I've got 2 divorces under my belt, so I've been down that road too. I know what that's all about. How old are your kids?
23 and 14.
Oh wow! So I have a 23-year-old daughter. That's actually pretty amazing. So my daughter's been in this same exact information for since she was like 2021, right in there. She actually works with me now. We teach and coach and train all over the world. She's actually a licensed consultant, and she was just recognized on stage in LA in front of 118 countries on a live stream with Bob because she had earned about $300,000 in 3 months through multiple revenue streams. So when you tell me you have a 23-year-old, I have a soft spot, because our kids are the future, and what we teach them matters. What we teach them by example matters. As a boy and a girl, one of each, 2 of one.
Yeah, one of each.
One of each. Very cool. So what are you?
So you're with the Gallagher Institute?
Yeah, Proctor Gallagher Institute. We're licensed to coach and teach and train individuals and corporations in that material, thinking and results program.
Okay. Yeah, I recently talked to a guy from there because I had inquired to, I think it was like a webinar that they had, and I was contacted by a coach out of Phoenix, I believe.
Oh yeah, okay. Do you remember the name?
No, I don't have.
Do you remember what the webinar was? Just curious.
Well, it was through the Gallagher, it was like something I saw on social media through Gallagher Institute, and then you know, they got my information, and then I was contacted by a coach.
Very cool. Very
cool.
Well, Anthony, how old are you? You must be in what, your early 40s or something?
Yeah, I'm 43. Yes. 43.
So you're that's funny. You are the exact same age I was when I had my construction company doing about $1 million a year. Before I got into this information, I'm 49 now, so it was 6 years ago. But wow, I mean, you're almost identically where I was before jumping into this. And you know, when I got into the same exact program that we work with here, like Brian was saying, I was able to scale very, very fast inside of construction. And then from there, I scaled into a whole bunch of different companies, took that money, started a software company. We got a clothing company started, and a couple of other things, and obviously a consulting company. So there's a lot of parallel things going on here. Well, let me ask you this. What, if anything, are your pain points? I mean, what are you currently earning?
You know what? It's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I'm licensed, right? But I'm licensed, so I got a license, but I have a specialty license. So for the last 4 years, I've been working under a general contractor so that I can get my GC license. So I mean, they were doing a lot of work my way, but it was kind of it wasn't the work, you know, wanted, because it was more like basically like as a subcontractor, but like managing. You know, it's kind of like a middleman. I was like a middleman. So basically, I wasn't earning what I really could, because another contractor was taking a piece of you know, what I was supposed to be getting paid, because he was the GC on the job. You know. Gotcha.
Yeah, it sounds like they had you as more of like a site supervisor in between a GC and the subs.
Well, no, I actually work and I actually hire people to do everything, but it's like they throw the whole, okay, here goes a job. We need you to remodel this whole house. Here goes $50,000, and I buy all the materials, and then I pay labor. So I was running it, but like I say, a job like that would, you know, for him was probably like $80,000. You see, so he's giving 50, and I take care of all the headaches and everything. So like I say, I wasn't really getting what I thought I deserved, because I was basically doing, you know, everything. So like recently, I'm in the process of getting my GC license, because I got my 4 years under him that I could write off, you know, or be signed off. So now I'm in the process of getting my GC license, and then you know, then I'm gonna go ahead and get, you know, I'm putting time into getting more work on my own.
Perfect. You know? Yeah, I can definitely help you get your GC license. When I got mine, I was never in the trades. You're supposed to have 3 years experience. I mean, you can be a painter and go get your GC license. It's such a silly rule. But I had 0 years of experience, but I got my GC license anyway. And the reason I got mine is because I didn't think like a normal person. You know, the rules and regulations, that's for other people. There's always a way to negotiate and solve problems. So I just wrote into the board, and I built a case for that I should be able to get my license. And I did design my own house, and I sent in the blueprints and things of that nature. But you know, you can get your GC license now. You know, that's not an issue. But what would you? I'm just trying to figure out. You know, I don't need exact amounts, but roughly speaking, what did you make? What do you make per month?
You know, it's kind of hard to say. Probably like 6,000 right now. I mean.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for. There's no right or wrong answer. You know, it's like, you know, I'm just looking for approximate 5K, 10K, 100K. It just tells me where you're at as far as awareness, you know, level of awareness and earning money. There's no good or bad, you know.
But okay, so like like I say it's 6,000, but in actuality, with the jobs and everything, it's probably a couple $100,000 a year. Mm-hmm. So because I'm purchasing materials, paying labor.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
I'm responsible for more money than just the
right.
The money that I take home. So
yeah, no, I'm talking about what you take home. Like when I was doing $1 million a year, I was only taking home about 100K, like 10% of it. That was my piece.
Yeah.
We did 100K in volume, and, you know, paying electricians, paying subs. So I'm not talking about gross. Yeah, I'm looking for what the net is. So, and like I said, there's no right or wrong. I'm just trying to figure out where you're at so I can best serve you, you know?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. If I could wave a business magic wand, right? Let's say we would have worked together and I was mentoring you and I could sort of snap my fingers. What would you like to be earning per month in order to live the life, you know, that you want with your kids and maybe vacations and homes? What would you like to be earning per month?
Well, it would be a lot. It would be a lot because, I mean, I don't know, maybe 50,000 a month. I mean, that's probably somewhere I want to be. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but I have ideas of things I want to do as
Sure.
far as you know, not just contracting, but also too subbing out, um, buying materials direct from overseas and selling. So I mean, that's somewhere I would like to be. You know, I
Sure.
think that would.
Well, first of all, there's no
Yeah.
such thing as big or small. That's not a big number or a small number. It's just a number. And that's one of the first
Yes.
things we work with people. If you think 50,000 a month is a lot, it'll be very hard for you to earn that much because you have a disassociation with it. It's like it's out there, you know what I mean? It's like, oh my God. So 50K a month is not a lot, and 50,000 a day is not a lot either. It's just more.
Yeah.
It's all relative. Like if it's me and you and Warren Buffett sitting in a room, and you're saying, hey, I'd like to get the 50K a month. He said, well, that's cute, you know. He earns 1.5 million a day just off the interest alone of Coca-Cola, which is one of hundreds of stocks he owns. So there's no such thing as big or small. There's only relativity. Does that make sense? So if you really want to move,
Yeah, like I said,
yeah.
I do a lot of YouTube. So I do Proctor, I do Nightingale, I do you know, I do a lot of driving, so I listen a lot, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it has helped me a little bit, you know, like with gratitude, you know,
Sure.
being grateful in the morning for good, in a better state of mind, you know, thinking positive, you know, you can't be positive and negative at the same time. So I always have a positive outlook on things,
Mm-hmm.
just from, you know, like I say, from learning from the videos that I've and audiobooks that I've done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you sound like you have a fairly positive outlook. I don't think that's an issue. But I mean, listen, millions of people around the world are watching videos every day, but there's only a fraction of 1% that really succeed and get to 50,000 a month. So, and that's where mentorship comes in and following like a proven system. Same thing I did. I mean, I was exactly your age, right? I was 43 years old. You got to remember, I was an engineer, mechanical engineer, solar engineer, an architect, and a builder. So I had superior knowledge, but I still had inferior results. I was almost earning the same as you, 6,000. That's 96K, right? That's 100K a year. You and I were like almost parallel. So it's very crazy. Even divorced, and I had one kid. You have two. So it really doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with your environment, you know. Well, let me ask you this. Let's say we were to work together. We could move you towards that 50K a month. What's the reason? What would you do with it? What's the reason for getting to that number?
You know what, I would like it to be more like that's just like you know, I kind of want to build a construction company. I want to invest in multiple things. You know, invest in property, flipping property. I want to be able to hire people, train people. You know, have like a construction company that also does investment properties that I purchase, and then also to, you know, I want to do the, you know, remodels, home remodeling, building, whatever comes next. You know, maybe, you know, I decided to start building you know, new homes or something like that. But it's all going to be linked to the construction part. Mm-hmm. You know.
Well, I can give you a little bit of free awareness here, free advice. So when I was in the same exact boat, I was doing a lot of remodels and additions. And some of them were, you know, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 remodels and additions. And that's not the way to get to 50K a month. And what the switch was when I started the second lesson in this program is called the Knowing Doing Gap. And I put a line in the sand. I said, I'm no longer taking jobs under $1 million. And I said, I got to do something different, right? Now, I either need to start building homes, a lot of them, or some really high-end ones. And I said, okay, well, I'd really like to build like mansions. You know what I mean? And the homes we build now are between 5 and 10 million. They're usually 10 to 15,000 square feet, and they're in Weston, Massachusetts, which is the richest town in all of Massachusetts. So how did I go from a remodeler to there in like a 2-month period, right? That's exactly what we teach. It's just a different mindset, right? So right now, I like what you're saying. Flips, yes. New homes, yes. But remodeling and additions, that's just like you're just swinging a hammer and maybe managing some other people. That's very hard to get the 50K a month doing remodels. Plus, it's a pain in the ass, right? I mean, you work way harder, and I mean way harder on a remodel than you do a new construction, right? New construction, clean slate. There's a hole, pour a foundation, frame it. Everything's new. It's on the plans. You're just following the plans for the most part. You're not running into rotted beams and old wiring and headaches and pains and why is this costing more? So that first thing you do is shift your frequency to that, like new home construction, bigger homes. And I can show you how to do all that. But that's you and I, again, very paralleled in our thinking back then. What else do you want, those? Let's say we get to 50K a month. You're investing, you're flipping, cash is rolling. Like, what's the money for?
I mean, just a better way of life. I would like to enjoy life. Not like the thing is, I'm 43, but I've worked so hard most of my life. I mean, it's like 6-7 days a week. I mean, physically, and I'm not even like I'm not tired or nothing like that. I'm just saying I worked like I missed like my daughter a lot of her stuff because I was working on weekends, working Saturdays and Sundays. Just to make it, and because you know how it is. The more money you make, it's like taxes and everything. It's like they take all that money, So
Of course.
I would just like to live a different kind of life, a more comfortable life, But like I said, I do have this thing too, where like I would like to be able to employ people. Give people opportunities, train people or start a training program on, teaching guys how to, construct, how to work in construction, It's like a lot of people nowadays, it seems like the younger generation, they don't have these kind of skills. Like a lot of people I hire, the younger generation, they just don't have it. The older guys, they do, they learned it and, they wanted to learn it, and now it's just, I don't know, I think it's just a different mindset with people.
There's no question. Hard work. No question. They're growing up in a digital age. I mean, you get kids making $100,000 a month on YouTube. So they're starting to become aware. They're making money on Shopify and Amazon, network marketing companies. They're making money digitally instead of physically, and that's a generational shift for sure. Well, let me ask you this: what do you think is the biggest thing holding you back from the 50K a month?
I couldn't say, I couldn't say. I mean, I guess I was taught always to work hard to get what you want, but it doesn't seem like that's really working. I mean, physically, at least. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's more discipline. Maybe it's more, I need more education. I need to study more. I need to put more time into, personal development, I just, like I said, it's hard when you're, especially right now, because I work, plus I manage, so I really, when I come home, sometimes I'm just burnt. I'm burnt out,
Yeah, and I feel you. I was very parallel, and like I said, I know about working 6-7 days a week for years, and so this is the biggest thing that we find with people, right? They want to get ahead. They're committed. You're not lazy. It's not a discipline issue either. You work 6-7 days a week. You're very disciplined. Do you know what a paradigm is? Have you ever heard the word paradigm?
Yeah, paradigm shift. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So what is your definition of what a paradigm is?
I guess the way we're like the way we think, kind of like the way we're programmed. I mean, I can say. I mean, like I said, I do watch the videos and.
No, you actually, believe it or not, you actually hit it on the head. But I want to dig a little deeper. You just said the way we're programmed, right? So
Yeah.
a paradigm is just a fancy word that we use to describe a set of mental programs that are stored in your subconscious mind that are causing all of your results, right? So people are programmed from birth, just like an operating system on a computer. That makes sense? So I mean, you didn't choose to speak the language you're speaking. You didn't choose the food, right? You didn't choose whatever was going on around you with relationships. You know, then we're thrown into school. They don't teach how to build wealth. I mean, they teach a little bit of math, a little bit of history, a little bit of science, English. They're teaching you to be a school teacher, right? That makes like $40K a year. So they're not teaching wealth. They're not teaching and it's not the school system's fault. I have the utmost respect for teachers because they're working in a broken system. But the fact of the matter is we're programmed from birth by our parents who are completely ignorant. Ignorance is not a bad term. It just means they don't know because their parents were ignorant and their parents. It's generational ignorance. And I can give you a really good example here. Do you know who Warren Buffett is?
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to imagine with me, just role play a little bit. You're 43 years old. Imagine instead of growing up the way that you grew up, instead that you were Warren Buffett's son. And for the last 43 years, you were around global economics, advanced mergers and acquisitions, you know, stock trading. He's worth about $88 billion right now. So imagine the last 43 years, you were in the mindset and surrounded by a billionaire. At least financially, where do you think you'd be right now?
I would be rich. I would, yeah.
It's pretty easy to see, right? This has nothing to do with you. It has to do with your environment. And when we work with somebody, what we do is we put you in the mental environment of millionaires and billionaires, people like Henry Ford and Thomas Edison, Warren Buffett. The information that we teach, it's not my opinion. It's really the science behind how the world's wealthiest people think and act and operate. And that's the difference between this and, you know, and everybody else out there. I've taken courses from Tony Robbins and John Maxwell. I've studied Jim Rohn. I've done it all, just like you probably have. I read the books, and not much was happening. But what Bob has is a duplicatable roadmap. It's like the roadmap or the operating system to a human being. Like, here's the manual that you never got. This is why you're doing this. This is why you're doing that. This is why you're making, you know, $6K a month instead of $60K a month. And there's no right or wrong or good or bad. It's just awareness. That makes sense?
Yes.
Now, one thing I want you to understand, like at $6K a month, you are doing better than like 95% of the planet. So it's important to understand, and I can tell you're already grateful and you already have gratitude, but the average salary around the world is $11 a week. Right? So it's important to understand that you're already doing very, very, very well, but we can do a lot better, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we would come in, right? That's where we would come in. If you decide you want to work with us, we can hold your hand, like especially in construction, but you know, multiple revenue streams, getting into real estate, probably things you haven't even thought of yet, because we're going to teach you to think and act and operate like a Warren Buffett would. Like how does he process information, you know? But let me ask you this. Let's say we did work together hypothetically, and we were able to move you towards, you know, from 6K a month and move you towards that 50K a month. Would you even be willing to work together for 6 months? Because as you can imagine, we can only work with so many people. This is something I do for passion. And we can only work with so many people in this capacity. So we only work with committed people. And the difference is, you know, people that are wishing to make changes, they'll do whatever's convenient, right? But people that are committed, they'll do whatever it takes. So would you say that you're more, you know, wishing to move forward, or are you somebody that you think is really committed? And either way is fine. I'm just curious.
You know what? I ask myself the same question sometimes. Yeah, I don't. I can't say for sure. I can't. I mean, I'm committed to working hard, but it depends on, you know, like. I don't know. Like, I mean, I read stuff and it's like, okay, well, you know what? If you're truly committed, you sleep 4 hours a day, you stay up till 11, you go to, you wake up at, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you start your day. That's kind of tough, And I know it can be done, but it's.
Well, no, what you're illustrating right now is what you think success is. But there's no reality to that. That's just a picture that you're painting because way back when your parents programmed you to like working hard or work 100 hours a week, physically working, because they didn't know any better. There's nothing wrong with your parents. They were just ignorant. My parents are ignorant too. I had to figure this stuff out myself, and I had to get a mentor, and I had to work with somebody that understood things differently. So don't confuse being committed with waking up at 3 a.m. because that's not something you need to do. What I mean by being committed is, for me, when I was asked the same question, I had a challenge in front of me, and it was invest $30,000 for a week of training. That's not what we're asking you here. I'm just saying when I was in your shoes and I was working with Bob, I had to make a committed decision, but I looked at Bob's results and I wanted those results, and my way wasn't working. Right. So when we talk about being committed, it's not what you think. It's not working yourself to the bone. When we teach somebody, we're using about a half hour a day. That's why it's a 6-month commitment. It's about a half hour a day. It's 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night, and it's one webinar a week. So the time commitment's not a big thing. It's actually designed for entrepreneurs, busy people. But the reason why it's stretched out like that over 6 months is because it takes the spaced repetition of content to rewire your operating system. I can't teach this to you in a day or even like a week of 8-hour days. It won't sink in. That's not the way people process information. That make sense?
Yes.
So, when I asked, you gave me a fair answer too. If you're not sure if you're committed, that's something you need to figure out because I only work with committed people. I'll be wasting my time, wasting your time if you're not committed to the content we teach and doing what we say and being a coachable student, so to speak,
Yes.
So, if that's something you want to think about a little bit, you can figure out where you're at, kind of assess your life. It's not about working harder, but there is a level of commitment. It's a 6-month commitment. We're committed to the study. We do the materials, and because some of what we teach does not make sense. It won't make sense to you, but it does make sense to the world's wealthiest people because it's exactly how they think, right?
Yeah.
So if you want, you can think about that a little bit. We can schedule a time, jump on another call, and just really think about where you're at and how do you really want to get to 50K or you're just kind of wishing for that to happen?
No, I do want to. I mean, like I said, I talked to the other guy from the institute also. His name was Matthew Bujega. I think it's Bujega.
Okay.
And at the time, I couldn't do what I couldn't financially. I couldn't do what he was asking me, and that's where I was at,
Sure.
Like I say, right now, the reason why I'm on my own is because I had a fallout with the other contractor I used to work for. So things have been kind of rough. I'm trying to like bounce back. I'm trying to get my own customers. I'm trying to do a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to put money into networking. The company's gonna network for me, and so that's kind of where I'm at. And it's only been a couple months since the guy contacted me. So that was the only problem I had, because I think it was like, I think he told me it was like 6,500 or 6,900, something like that. So I didn't have it at the time, and right now I'm trying to catch up on a lot of stuff,
Sure.
So,
I definitely feel your pain. I was in the same boat. But here's a perfect example, right? So you're trying to figure this out at your present level of awareness. Like, how do I scale my company? How do I get bigger jobs? But you're at a $6,000 a month awareness level, right?
Yeah.
Now, when I told you my story, when I invested money I didn't have, within 2 months, like I landed my first $2.5 million job. because I raised my level of awareness, right? I was taught to do things differently. I was taught to present myself, a whole host of things that I can help you with. But right now, you're more concerned with like the loss of money, like $6,800. I mean, somebody making $50K a month, they're not really concerned about $6,800, right? And this way, and I know this, I'm not saying this is easy, but this is where you got to go. You have to actually think like a $50,000 earner before you'll earn the 50,000. This is why most people don't get it. Right. Now, let me ask you this. If one of your kids had a terminal illness and you needed $6,800 by the end of the week, like you'd figure it out, right?
Yeah, I guess, yes.
Of course, right? So that's how an entrepreneur thinks, you know? If we're always waiting, like, you know, when I get the money, then I'll do the thing. That's like expecting a light to be on before you turn a switch. It never works that way. You always have to learn or grow or raise your level of awareness first, and then the income follows. So it's not a comfortable thing. Like I said, my thing when I did this was 30,000. We were almost in the same boat, you know. So I understand the money part of it. Believe me when I say that. But I want to leave you better off than I found you. And if you continue to think like that, you're just going to continue the same results, you know. We want to flip to the frequency of solving problems, right? And we can show you how to do that. But you know, everything that you're saying about what happened with the other guy and I didn't have the money. There's a reason you don't have the money. It's because you're not aware of how to earn it. And like I said, I was in the same boat. You know, I call it being American broke. Like you're making some money, but it goes out and you got bills and things are happening. But right now you're just more focused on lack, doubt, fear, and worry. And somebody that's earning $50K a month, the singular focus they have is getting to $50K a month. They don't worry about the bills. They don't worry about anything, because worrying is like praying what you don't want. That makes sense?
You know what? Yeah, you know what? Okay, so even though like I do think like that though, because like I say, I do the audio books. You know, I did Think and Grow Rich, like I don't know, like about 5 times already. I do the shortened versions, and you know, I don't worry as much anymore. I used to worry more. Okay, and like I say, it took me a big leap of faith to actually just quit. I had a steady job for a company that I was with for 13 years. And I got my license, and I said, you know what, I'm out of here. And I didn't have anything really set up. I just said, you know what, I can find customers. I can make what I'm making here at least, and then you know, build from there. So I already have that attitude where I can do it. You know, but you know, like anybody, I do have that doubt, you know, here and there, like, okay, I know it's going to be October, November, December, so it's going to slow down. So in the back of my head, I'm thinking that, you know, I still have that, you know, and I wish I didn't, you know, but
well, that's what we can help with, right? So the winter time is only slow for people that think the winter time is slow.
Yeah.
You see the thing? So the masses are programmed to say it's slow in the winter, so it's slow in the winter. The people that understand, they're making money hand over fist in the winter, right? I'm one of them. So even that's an awareness, right? So I just want you to think about this, right? So you understand who Bob Proctor is. I mean, his results obviously speak volumes. The material that we're coaching and teaching, it's not opinion. Right? It's the physics and the sciences of how wealthy people think, act, and operate. And you just don't have that information. I didn't have the information either. As soon as I got the information, like I said, within eight weeks, I'm not making this up. Within 8 weeks, I landed a $2.5 million tear down and rebuild, a new home. And then went on to build multiple companies, like I said, software, and a whole host of things, just like you're saying, and real estate, things of that nature. So when it comes up to something like this, right, you just got to figure out what's more valuable, time or money. I mean, you can keep reading just like I was. You can read Think and Grow Rich another 100 times and keep going the way you're going. Or the way that successful people, what happens is we hire mentors that have proven systems. I mean, Bob has had 7 mentors in his life. Even Warren Buffett, His mentor was Benjamin Graham. I have multiple mentors, and Bob, and I've spent hundreds of thousands, you know. So the one thing I want to set your mind at ease. I don't need your money, right? It's not a sales pitch. I don't need you to be a client. We have clients working with us all the time. What I want to do though is I want to leave you better off than I found you. I want to get you to really think, because when you're 90 years old, if you have, you know, $1 million, you know, 6,800, or you're in debt $1 million, 6,800. The 6,800 it's a tiny insignificant amount of money compared to what we can, right, get return on. And that's really what you got to look at, you know. So I know it may not be easy, or you may have some fear and some worries about it, but you know, you're at a pivotal point in your life where you either decide to push forward or bounce backwards and just kind of keep doing what you're doing, you know.
Yeah. I totally understand. I kind of feel like I'm at a crossroads right now.
Oh, I know the feeling.
I know the feeling.
It's
like, but I already know I can't fail. Like, you know, it's like.
Well, we have.
Like, okay, people get.
Yeah, we have a payment program. We have a payment program. I mean, most of the people that work with us, they come to us.
Yes.
They come to us because they're financially struggling. It's very rare. We do have one-on-one clients that are already multimillionaires and the money's not an issue. But I would say 90% of the people that we work with, they have to figure this out. And we have a young gentleman 6 months ago that came to us. His name is Kenny Coleman. And he was doing sales, and he had a network marketing company. And so he's working for himself, very much like you. He didn't have a paycheck from anybody. And he was earning about $2,000 a month. And he knew who Bob was, and he understood. He's read Think and Grow Rich, very similar to you. He's 23 years old. And we had a call like this, very similar. And he just made a different decision. He realized, like, what's going to change if I don't, you know, get a mentor or somebody that can connect the dots. So he actually sold his car to work with us. Sold his car to work with us. And, you know, within 5 weeks, he was earning about $5K. So, you know, about 150% more than he was earning before. And within 4 months, he had his first 10K weekend. Right now, I'm not suggesting you sell your car. I'm just suggesting that you think, like, what, you know, how would Elon Musk, or how would, you know, Steve Jobs? I mean, he started with $750 in a garage. These people don't think about lack and fear. They figure it out, right? So even if we take this, you know, if this program was $68, like, you can figure that out, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. I'm just getting you to play it. Well, just figure that out 100 times. You're maximizing this deal. You're maximizing what it is. So we do have a payment program where we take a $3K deposit, and it's $7,800, and we spread the rest out over 6 months. So there's different ways to work around this. But right now, what you're really going to do is separate decision from money, because right now you're making all your decisions based on money, and as a human being, that's not a good way to live. What you want to do is decide if this is even something you want to do or not. Never mind the money. Let's pretend it was free. Do you see the value? Is this something that you want to do, that you see the value and you're committed to doing?
Yeah, no, I do see the value in it.
Okay.
I mean,
so that's one thing, because decision should be separated from money, because the way entrepreneurs make decisions, we don't think about time or money. The money will always come following the decision. And I know that might sound a little ethereal, or unicorns and rainbows, but it's a fact. Like I said, somebody like Steve Jobs, they don't worry about the money. If you have a good idea, or if you put your mind towards something, the money will come. And you've already done this at different points. And even when you quit your job, you know, I want to commend you for that, because that's a leap of faith, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of in the same situation. Like I said, you can hem and haw and let me think about it, move on, and we'll both just go on living our lives. But at some point, you're going to face the same thing, you know, because you're at a crossroads, like you said. So what I would suggest is that let's put our heads together and figure out all the ways we could do this, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say right now. I mean,
well, I can tell you're thinking.
I mean, I am thinking. Yeah, I'm thinking. I mean, I know that's what I want. Though I know it. I mean, like I said, it caught my interest when I was real slow. It was like something came to me.
Mm-hmm.
I got slow for about 5 months, and then all of a sudden I went to YouTube, and I started, watching videos and listening to audiobooks. And like I say, before, I mean, like say you watch a movie because it's interesting to you. So now I started listening to, different people, but it's all in self betterment, self improvement. Like on a daily, just to because I don't know, I feel like I'm getting something out of that other than just listening to the music that I already know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I want to grow. So it's not like it's in my mind. Like I say, the different things I learn, like gratitude. I go around in the morning. I'm like, okay, let me take a couple of minutes to just thank the universe for being, grateful. I mean, for the things that it's giving me.
Mm-hmm.
Just different things like that that I picked up. So I know I'm shifting towards that way, and I've been for a while. And I know like I say, the positive thinking, the way of thinking has helped me. Recently.
Sure. No, absolutely. I mean, you're moving in the right direction, but why does gratitude? What does that do? What does gratitude do?
You know what? It just I'm just grateful. It's like I'm humble, and it just I don't know. It just makes me feel like in a better mood. Like it's you can look at things in two ways. Like, okay, what came out of this? Was it something bad or was it something good? So, like I say, like I worked for this guy for 4 years. I take it as a learning experience. Like this guy fast tracked my experience as a contractor. Not that I didn't make money. It's just that like it was almost like an internship, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I learned a lot. So I take from that situation like, okay, I didn't make a lot out of that situation, but it was like it taught me a lot in a fast, in a quicker time than me working for different people's.
Sure. Yeah, what you're doing there is you're shifting your perspective from looking at the bad to the good. But getting back to the question that I asked, what does gratitude do?
I don't know what to say on that. I mean,
so that's so what I'm highlighting is I didn't know what to say about that either. So you're doing a lot of things, but you don't know at a foundational level what you're doing in order to get in harmony. See, wealth is built by being in harmony with universal laws. It's the same way an acorn turns into an oak tree, right? And you probably can't tell me why an acorn turns into an oak tree. Well, how does a baby turn into Warren Buffett? It's the same thing. So where you're at, picture yourself at a baby level, and you're trying to figure this out without parents, without mentors, and you're just fumbling your way through. So you can spend another 40 years doing this.
Yeah.
And this is where a mentor comes in. Now, the reason why gratitude helps people become successful is because you're raising your vibration. Right? So do you know what your vibration is?
I mean, I heard Bob talk about it, vibration, being on the same level, wave, the same energy as certain things. But I don't really know too much more than that.
Yeah, and there's no reason you should. It's not taught in schools. Like I said, you've done really well up till now based on a limited level of awareness and going through schools. But so this is exactly what I'm highlighting. Without a mentor, now you've read Think and Grow Rich, but you don't understand what it means.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And there's no reason you should, because most people need a mentor to say, hey, like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Right? So when you're giving gratitude, everything in the universe is at a vibration. If you look at your skin under a microscope, all the subatomic particles are vibrating and moving, right? Even a rock, if you look at it under a microscope, everything's in motion. There's no such thing as solid. So when you're giving gratitude, you're flipping to a higher frequency with your brain waves and you're raising your vibration. Now, when you raise your vibration, you invoke the law of attraction or magnetism to bring into your life people, places, and things that are on the same frequency. But if you don't know any of this, it's hard to get in harmony with it. So when I started to understand this, I was able to flip to a higher frequency and start attracting multi-million-dollar jobs. Now, like I said, you could spend 10, 20, 30, 40 years trying to figure this out, or we could jump in together. I could show you this in a week, and you can start getting bigger jobs like 2 weeks from now. That makes sense?
Yeah.
But you're more focused on, I don't have, lack, how do I do it? Where am I getting, like, it's a 3K deposit. And even to the point of valuing it. You know, kids go to college and they'll take $100,000 on student loans for 30 years to get a 4-year degree as an engineer to learn how to make $50,000 a year. But when it comes to something like this is non-traditional education. So it confuses you. It confused me too. But you just got to look at the results of the person wanting to mentor you, right? So I was in your shoes. I went from $1 million to 10 million, then on to be CEO of 4 other companies. Same exact position almost. But I made a different decision. Like I took a loan for $30,000. And like I said, you know, what we're talking about here is 6,800. It's a fraction of what I had to do. So you just got to weigh all this out and figure out, like I said, how committed I am. I mean, there's credit cards, there's loans, there's borrowing it, there's selling things. I mean, there's a whole host of reasons. But right now, you're leaning towards why you can't do something, which is the opposite of how an entrepreneur thinks. That make sense?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
And like I said, I'm not beating you up, but I want to leave you better off than I found you, because right now you're stuck in indecision and you're not really aware of how to solve major problems. So what if this is a medical issue, like I said, with one of your kids, or what if there was, I don't know, let's say there was a real estate deal on the table. And I came to you and said, listen, I have $1 million building. It's a 10-unit $1 million building, and I'm in a pinch. And I'm going to sell it to you for $100,000, but I need it by the end of the week. And you knew it's a 10-unit, you knew it was $1 million building. Like, how would you solve that problem?
Yeah, we have to figure out something, right?
Well, but let's say it's right now. You have to decide right now. Like, how would you figure it out? Because this is how it works. There's opportunity all around you at a higher frequency, but it's not for people that don't make quick decisions. You know. So in that scenario, what would you do?
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to figure it out.
Good question, right? So here's how an entrepreneur thinks. What I would do is I would call everyone, right? And I would find 10 people each with $10,000, and I would get them to contribute. And I said, I'm going to give you $50,000 in 2 months, and it's backed by $1 million property. So I would get 10 people to give me all the money. It'd be none of my money, and I'd sell the property. I'd walk away with $500,000, and they'd each walk away with $50K. They'd 5 times their money backed by a security. That makes sense? And I would call 300 people. I would call 1,000 people. I would call until. That's the difference between 6K a month and 50K a month, which is where you're telling me you want to go. That make sense?
Yeah.
So this is the type of stuff we teach. And I might say something just one day over 6 months that increases your wealth, you know, across the board. Something like that, you know. But you still got to figure out a 3K deposit. You know, you gotta do what somebody earning 50K a month would figure out. Whether it could be a combination of things, right? It might be a credit card, a loan, borrowing it, and selling something. It could be a whole host of things. And again, like I said, I want to reiterate, I don't need your money. I'm just trying to get you to think if you want to join us and, you know, break the paradigms of the past 40 years.
Yeah. I guess I gotta find a way.
I guess so. So what I'm going to do here is let me, if you're open to it, I can give you a little bit of homework. Like I said, I want to leave you better off than I found you, whether you decide you want to work with us or not, honestly, because that's what I'm all about. You know, it's trying to leave people better off than I found them. Do you have an email where I could send some information? It's not information. It's homework. It's not information. It's things to do to free your mind to start thinking.
Yes, I do.
What's your email?
Okay, it's BARRIOS and it's 2355@gmail.com.
And that's B as in Brian, Barrios?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Well, let me do that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to send you some homework, and there's 2 articles. One of them is on decision, And another one is called the 333 story, where a person that was broke raised $3 million in 3 days. All right, so it's a story to free your mind, and it's also one on decision. And then the third thing I want you to do, if you're open to this, and I want to check up with you on this, I want you to write like a one-page story of what your life would be like at the 50,000. We call it a life script. Like, where would you live? What would you be doing? Who would you be helping? Just let the pen flow and say, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm earning $50,000 a month. Is how I would start it. And then just keep going with where you're living, what it looks like for your kids, where you're working, who you're helping. Write a little 1 or 2 page script, right? And I'm gonna reiterate this in the email. But I want you to read these and read this every single night before you go to bed. It'll free your mind. It'll flip you to the frequency of solving this problem if you really want to solve it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate your time. Hopefully you got some value out of that. And if you decide you want to work with us, you will figure it out. You're actually designed to figure it out. We just got to get you, instead of thinking of all the ways you can't do it, we got to get you start thinking, okay, I really do want to get to 50K a month. How do I solve this little issue? And the one last thing I'll say too is we do have a referral program, right, for people that want to work with us. And we pay $1,000 per referral for people that, if you knew somebody else in the trades, electricians, plumbers, that you think might benefit. We've had people actually put a deposit down and then refer the way through the course. So that's another option,
Okay.
All right,
All right, that sounds good.
All right, man. Well, I'll send this to you, and I'll follow up in a few days, and we'll see where you're at.
Okay, I appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Be well. Take care.